Hello and welcome everyone. Today we are joined by Dr. Yan Cai, Senior Vice President at Novo Nordisk, who leads clinical development and medical affairs across international markets. She's here to talk about the launch of anti-diabetes and weight loss drug Wegovy in India and how this weight loss drug will shape the obesity care in India. Thank you, Dr. Kai, for joining us. Dr. Kai, what sets Wegovy apart from other weight loss drugs in this category, especially Eli Lilly's Mounjaro?
First of all, thank you so much for having me here. As a global leader in obesity management, we are extremely excited to bring Wegovy to India. What sets us apart, coming back to your question, please be reminded Wegovy as of today is the only anti-obesity drug that does not only provide weight loss, transformative weight loss, but also with cardiovascular protection. We have proven evidence to show Wegovy reduce cardiovascular risks in terms of stroke, myocardial infarct, and cardiovascular related deaths for people who are living with obesity and overweight, and also with previous existing cardiovascular disease, right? So this is really a drug not only produce weight loss, but also with heart protection.
Okay, Dr. Kai, will you be able to walk us through the journey as patient, starts taking Wegovy to the point that the patient achieves the final weight loss? Will you be able to just walk us through what are the side effects or maybe some uncomfortable symptoms that patient may witness when the patient starts the drug to the point when the doses are upgraded and finally patient is accustomed to taking this product? Will you be able to walk us through that journey?
Thank you very much for that question. First of all, I want to say, it's Wegovy with the active gradient is called semaglutide as a molecule, which has been exposed to more than 33 million people worldwide, because we have started this journey very, very long time ago, right? Both for diabetes, now moving into obesity. So the first thing I want to make this super clear is that semaglutide has been tried and trusted in terms of safety profile. So when the patient is actually speaking with a healthcare professionals in terms of the problem associated with overweight or obesity, and the healthcare professionals might prescribe Wegovy, then the patient will start a healthy lifestyle in terms of diet and exercise that always a great help together with medication like Wegovy, right? And it's important to titrate up on different doses of GLP-1 drug class, because it will have some side effect, as you mentioned, with like some GI side effects. People might feel a little bit nausea and maybe vomiting, so on and so forth. But it's very important. People need to remember it's only lasts for a period of time, then it's gone. So it's a transient. It's your body system very natural reaction to GLP-1 drug class. It will phase out. So that's why you need to only jump to the next dose after 4 weeks, try small dose. If it's safe, you tolerate it very well, then you dose titrate to next level of dose. And I'm pretty sure your healthcare professionals will help you in terms of how to titrate up. And people's response to any drug will be different. Some people will have higher response rate in terms of very fast weight loss. Some might have lower response in terms of speed of weight loss, right? But in all the step 12, we have proven majority, more than 80-90% of patients will achieve clinically significant weight loss. That means more than 5% weight loss. In the STEP program, we have proven more than 30% of people taking Wegovy will lose more than 20% of weight loss after 68 weeks of treatment. Very long follow-up on the treatment journey, right? So it's very important for patients first to learn how to dose titrate up in terms of managing the side effect. And second of all, to continue on the drug treatment, please don't drop off too fast, because we only start to say, the max weight loss after 12 to 16 weeks of treatment. Again, some people will respond very fast, some people will respond a bit slower, but remember 12 to 16 weeks, it will take to reach some good weight loss kind of effect. And more importantly, to keep yourself on the medication, because all the other health benefits will kick in even at the early stage, right? We have select study to show as early as the first 20 days, you start to see the cardiovascular benefit from the study. But in order to maintain the health benefit, it's very important you keep the treatment on as long as possible, right? In the patient journey.
Right. Will you be able to list a few symptoms that a person might witness as they have just started Wegovy? You said gastrointestinal symptoms, some of those. So does that mean uncomfortable stomach, nausea, something? Will you be able to explain on that part? What are those symptoms?
Yeah, thanks again for that question. As I mentioned, please remember it's not everyone will have that same symptoms, right? And we have data showing maybe 50 to 60% of people, starting with a small dose, they don't have any symptoms. In the once weekly injection, it just move on. Maybe for 20, 30% of people, they start to experience some GI, gastrointestinal side effect. But majority of them, they are mild. Mild in the sense you might feel a bit nausea, you might feel a little bit fatty. This is the way how your body is responding to GLP-1 treatment. Once again, remember the titrate takes 4 weeks to move to the next dose. So stay on the same dose for 4 weeks to make sure your body gets used to it. Then you jump to the next higher dose, right? This is how the system and your body works with it. A majority of patients, I want to repeat again, the symptom is transient. It's gone once your body used to the GLP-1 treatment, and the majority of the symptoms are mild. Are mild, like I feel a little bit nausea. I don't feel like I want to eat a lot of food, as I normally do. And this will be slowly getting better as you move on the GLP-1 treatment.
Dr. Cai, you are the best person to ask this question. If you can scientifically explain how semaglutide or Wegovy works and how it leads to ultimately to weight loss.
Yeah. If I can try to use the most simple language to experience this, we have tons experience in the GLP-1 drug class, how it helps weight loss, right? Remember, we are global leader in obesity management. We started investing into this field more than 25 years ago, before even everyone trust medical treatment is needed for obesity management, right? And we have a lot of scientific data to show semaglutide, how it works with your brain. It actually combines with receptors in your brain to help suppress your appetite. So you are not in wanting to eat all kinds of food. And especially some food contents related to the fat, kind of components, right? We have good animal data to say even the rats, try to choose to eat less fatty food after the GLP-1 treatment, right? So it has a lot of proven scientific evidence to say how it works with your brain, to help your brain to feel, to make sure the nerve system, your hormone is telling your body, I'm full, I don't need to continue eating. You have better feeling in terms of satiety, right? So it's like, I don't feel hungry all the time, so I tend to eat less. That will help you control, your energy intake versus energy expenditure to reach a better balance. So that is the proven scientific evidence showing how GLP-1, especially semaglutide, works. And this is a new generation of anti-obesity medication with a proven safety, with efficacy, but also convenience. Remember, it's once weekly injection, and it's very easy for people to adhere to the treatment as well.
Right. So that was quite simple. The drug actually tells our brain to eat less, in short, right?
In short, that's the correct summary.
Right. And probably this is the reason that the company keeps on saying that you should not be taking this drug without the advice of your medical provider, because you need to exercise, you need to develop a lifestyle around this drug. You need to develop an entire ecosystem so that you don't feel weakness or you don't miss out on other good things in your diet, right?
Yeah. In general, as a healthcare company, and we do believe ecosystem to manage, the obesity treatment is not only about eat less or walk more, right? Because this is a physiological condition because of your hormone is imbalanced in a way that stimulate your wanting to eat all the time. So it is very important to manage the disease holistically. Medication is one important measure. Without medication, only rely on I have to go on diet program is not sustainable in terms of lifelong health benefit, right? Not to mention now with semaglutide, we have proven Wegovy is not only helping you lose weight but also protection, because we know in your system there's a GLP-1 receptor at different organs, so that's why it produces protection for your cardiovascular disease to slow down your arthros, like a cardiovascular disease progression, right? So those are the health benefit we will bring to our people living with obesity, more than just weight loss.
Right, right. Like you just mentioned about the rat study. So does this mean if you are on this drug, you might not want to consume, or your cravings are controlled when you talk about the fatty food or sugary food, maybe?
Yeah, this is what we have continued hearing from patients as well, more than just animal studies, right? I don't only eat less, but I also tend to, choose more healthy food like salad, versus what I used to say, very oily, very fatty type of food, right? So this is really the beauty of the GLP-1 drug class to help you not only creating the feeling I'm full, I don't need to continue eating, but also the food components, right?
Dr. Kai, now moving to one of the most important questions, which is, will affordability be a challenge for Wegovy in India? India is a very price sensitive market. And when we talk about Wegovy, it is priced anywhere between 17,000 to 26,000 every month. So what do you think about the accessibility factor and affordability factor of the drug?
And trust me, we think a lot. And every single country, the healthcare system is very different. So I cannot comment on pricing globally. How do we do this? But for Indian particularly, we have the India suited price, right? The first three titration dose, we actually price them the same price to enable people to sustain or get good access to the medication without adding additional financial burden to people living in India, right? So that is a very India specific price we actually have offered to Indian people. Having said that, we know this problem is very, very huge in terms of unmet need in obesity, and we continue to drive innovation to target a different level of patient, living or suffering from obesity. And we will bring different innovation to India as well. This will all be priced differently.
Hi, based on your experience and Novo Nordisk's data, which of the doses, like we have 5 doses available in India, by your experience in data, which is the dose that has majority of the takers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's wait and see about India, right? Based on my experience outside of India so far, and a lot of people, they stay probably at 1.7, and maybe we are talking about 50% of patient it stays at 1.7 milligram, right? But still 20 to 30% of patient, they titrate up to 2.4 milligram. From all the scientific data, for example, SELECT trial has told us cardiovascular benefit actually is created when you dose titrate up to higher dose, right? So my recommendation to all people living in India, when you start Wegovy treatment, try to find the best dose for yourself, right? It could be 1.7, could be 2.4. If affordability is less of the issue, to benefit from the max, like a treatment benefit from Wegovy, go up to 2.4 and stay, in 2.4, 1.7, depending on your situation, right?
Is this a lifelong treatment? You need to continue this till your body is taking the drug?
That's a very good question. And once again, obesity research has just been kicked off, right? Right now, we have many more unanswered questions than what we know about obesity management. As of today, we all know obesity is recognized as a chronic disease, just like when you live with chronic disease like hypertension and diabetes. You don't put on medication and off medication, right? You have to be on medication to manage your situation in a better way, right? So goes for obesity treatment. Once you start anti-obesity treatment, you should stay on this. And once you are off the medication, then slowly you will regain the weight again. That we have studied to show that, right? Having said that, as we are still new and early in obesity research, we try to understand physiology, biology behind different medication. So more and more treatment options will be provided to people living with obesity. Maybe we have to consider much different way of combining different treatment options to ease the treatment burden and to make the people living with obesity, life easier to put on different type of treatment option or combination of treatment option to stay longer in treatment.
Right. But Kai, in your opinion, how relevant Wegovy is for Indian market when we talk about India's obesity crisis? How relevant the drug is for Indian obesity crisis?
Extremely high. Again, I want to mention us like a leader in the obesity field. I still remember when we started, like a STEP program of sustained clinical trials investigating semaglutide in type 2 diabetes and obesity. We always find very relevant patient population coming from India in terms of suitable for treatment with semaglutide. And you are contributing to approximately 10% of total patients we studied in the randomized clinical trial. And you're always a top recruiter. I oftentimes see how fast you recruit those patients in clinical trials is a good indicator to see how relevant your people is either benefiting or unmet need is high in your country, right? So I have to say from all the indicators we know, Wegovy, semaglutide will offer transformative weight loss and cardiovascular benefit for people living in India who suffer from obesity, overweight with other chronic disease, complication. So it's extremely, relevant for this country. You could ask me why now we decided to launch India. Why not earlier, right? You probably have heard because the demand is huge. We take a very responsible approach to make sure we have enough product for big countries like India, huge population living with obesity and overweight, that we don't start treatment and we run out of product supply. We cannot afford to continue treatment for patients, right? So we take a very responsible approach. Until this point, we feel confident with the ramp up of our production capability, we can supply people living with obesity in India.
Right. And I can't let you go before asking that while Wegovy is here in India, what do you think about bringing Ozempic, the blockbuster, the sensational?
Yeah, I can only reassure you, India is a very important market, and your people suffering from type 2 diabetes is a high priority for us. So we are committed to bring Ozempic to India.
Okay. And Novo Nordisk, how the company is working to shift the conversation from obesity being just a cosmetic thing to something which is a chronic medical condition. Do you think we
Yeah,
need to start the conversation around obesity much more than we do presently?
absolutely. This is a very critical and very important question to address as well. And once again, as I mentioned, we started 25 years ago when nobody believed in medical treatment is required for managing obesity, because we know how much suffering people living with obesity and overweight are facing every day, right? We started tons of clinical research. In the same time, we work across different channels, different associations, try to tackle on the obesity as a burden and disease to people living with it, right? A few very good examples how we build the ecosystem. For example, collaboration with policymakers and the government to develop some white papers to really, explore and investigate into the burden of people living with obesity for the society, right? For example, we work with different professional associations to look into training, education. For example, we generate tons of clinical research data to really, open up the dialogue on how many people are suffering from the stigma living with obesity. One of the very famous study we have done and published and most quoted study of its kind in the world is called Action IO, where we interview thousands and the patients living with obesity to really understand the burden and suffer they go through. We also interview healthcare providers to understand how they look at obesity, right? So those are the holistic efforts we put into, the ecosystem of obesity management. Try to, advocate for more holistic approach of managing obesity, more than just provide a medication.
Right. Dr. Kai, while Wegovy and Mounjaro are in the spotlight, do you have any timelines in mind by when you think that you can bring Ozempic to India as well?
Yep. Once again, Wegovy and Ozempic, as of today, they target different population, right? And Ozempic is indicated for management of type 2 diabetes, while Wegovy is for managing overweight and obesity, right? To target different population. And once again, I want to mention the huge unmet need. We are talking about globally, 1 billion people is estimated to live with overweight and obesity. In India, that number at least is more than 200 million, right? So you are the number 3 nation right after US and China with the highest prevalence of obesity and overweight. So unmet need is huge. As of today, globally, we're talking about less than 2% of people living with obesity and overweight, they get medical treatment. So the unmet need is huge. And even for
Also, capital of the world. We are also
sorry,
diabetes capital of the world.
exactly, you are the number 1 or 2 countries in terms of prevalence of type 2 diabetes with a big population as well, right? So unmet need is huge. So we have to continue providing different treatment options because of the high unmet need in India, right? Wegovy will be able to help and improve care for people living with type 2 diabetes in India, while Wegovy, together with all the other treatment options, will also help close the gap in terms of unmet need.
So there is no timeline set for the launch of Ozempic as of now.
As soon as possible. That is our commitment to India.
Possible. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Kai, for taking out time and joining us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me here.